So if you checked out my previous video on iZotope's Neutron, you'll see how it's an absolutely essential plugin for me. I've linked the video above, but basically I go into all the features I absolutely love about it and how it's become an essential part of my workflow. But pretty much after I filmed and edited that video, iZotope released a brand new version 3. So today I thought I'd go through all the new features, check it out and see whether it's worth the upgrade. So if you're not familiar with iZotope Neutron, it's basically a suite of tools to help sculpt your mix. There's an EQ in there, compressors, exciter, transient shaper, noise gate. There's just so much crammed into this software, it's really good value for money. I've been using Neutron for quite a while now, ever since version 1, but it was version 2 when that came around. It had one killer feature, the track assistant. Now you put Neutron on a track, it would listen to that track and then make intelligent tweaks to that track to make it sound better. So it might tweak the EQ, it might put an exciter on there, it might put a compressor on there. All these things it does to make it sound better. Now this won't fix every mix, but it was intelligent enough to be a great starting point, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about it. So when iZotope announced a brand new version, I knew I had to check it out and see if it's worth the upgrade. So let's check out the website first of all and see what the new features are. So Neutron 3 is pretty much an evolution of the Neutron family. It's going to have lots of enhancements. That's going to be the major thing between different versions, but there are some new features within here. As I say, one of my favourite things was the track assistant, and that has now been renamed the mix assistant. It's actually got two different modes now, track enhance and balance. So track enhance is the previous method where you put it on a track, it will listen to that track and then make intelligent choices on it. But the new balance feature allows you to put it on the master channel and it will listen to your whole project, every single channel, and it will make suggestions as to how to mix it. Now, I'm a little bit dubious on this, whether this works or not. It might not work on every genre, but it certainly sounds quite interesting. And if the track assistant is anything to go by, then this could be a really interesting feature to check out. Next up, we have a brand new module called the Sculptor, and it wasn't instantly obvious as to what this did for me. So I checked out a few videos, and basically it seems like a quick fix or instant gratification kind of instrument. It allows you to pick a instrument profile. So say, for example, you put this on a piano track, you'd pick a piano profile, and it's got a whole load of settings in there to get the most out of that instrument. So you can dial in as much or as little of this as you want to. And you can either enhance it, make it stand out more in the mix, or bring it back in the mix, make it more subtle. So it certainly sounds like a really interesting module to play around with. They also seem to have tweaked the interface as well, improved some of the visuals on it. It seems like within the EQ, for example, the lot of the normal controls are kind of hidden away by default, which sounds quite nice actually. It looks less cluttered and therefore maybe a bit easier to see what's going on. So that sounds really kind of cool. I'm looking forward to trying that out. And finally, there's improved performance, something you probably expect from any new version of software. To be honest, I never found Neutron 2 to be that slow, but then again, I didn't use it on every single track. It certainly never slowed down the software for me, not like its bigger brother Ozone, which occasionally can be quite slow if you've got the maximizer on certain settings. But Neutron 3, it's good to hear that it is quicker, and I'm sure I probably will notice that going forward. Okay, so enough of that. Let's jump into Ableton and check out what Neutron 3 can do. So you're looking at a brand new remix of mine. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to try out Neutron on one of my tracks that I'm working on. And in this track, I have a piano instrument that I thought would be really good to kind of try out Neutron on. Now I've got all three versions of Neutron installed on my machine. As I say, I've been using it for a while. So I've got Neutron 1, Neutron 2, and I've got the trial version of Neutron 3. Of course, we're trying this out. I want to see whether this is worth the upgrade. So I'm going to drag and drop this on my piano track. And of course, I need to continue on here. I'm using the trial version, so I probably will buy it, let's face it. And the first thing we're greeted with is the preset manager. Now, I don't tend to use the presets within here. They look quite good, and supposedly they're quite good, but I use the mix assistant usually, so I don't really tend to use that. The first thing I always do here is I get rid of these, so I don't have to look at them again. If you need to go into the presets, you can jump into them at any point, but I don't tend to use them. Now, the first thing that strikes me about this new version of Neutron is that it seems so much more stripped back. Usually when you start up Neutron 2, it's already got about 3 or 4 modules already enabled. But with here, we just have the EQ, and the EQ is actually reset, so there's nothing really going on here at all. Another thing you notice is there's no real controls within here. There's no kind of controls for any of these EQ nodes. It seems really strange. I can already see that when I mouse over the line here, I can add a new point. So let's try adding a new point. And there we go. We got, actually, when we click on any point, we get all the information about that point right within our fingertips. It's really nice and easy, actually. It looks a whole lot more clean and tidy. So I can jump to any one of these and I can adjust the different type of EQ shelf or band or whatever I want to set it to. It's got some really nice options within here as well. And you can also enable dynamic mode. Dynamic mode is one of my favorite features of Neutron. If you haven't checked it out, check out the other video that I did on that. I love the dynamic mode, especially the way you can sidechain it as well. That's amazing. So yeah, it seems like a nice kind of uncluttered interface. It works really well. But let's jump into the good stuff. Let's have a look at the track assistant, which has actually been renamed the mix assistant. Now, this is a feature that I absolutely loved about Neutron 2, and let's see what it's like in Neutron 3. Straight away, we're given 2 different options within here. We have track enhance and track balance. So the balance option is something that we do at the end. That's their new feature where it can mix the whole project. As I say, I'm a bit dubious about whether this is going to work, but we can see that at the end of the project. But at the moment, we're going to use the track enhance, which is the old previous mode that was in Neutron 2. So I'm going to go to track enhance. And again, we've got the same kind of questions that we have in Neutron 2 as to, what instrument it is, what style, what intensity. So I'm just going to go through and select these. So I know that this is a piano, but it's quite nice actually. We have more options within here. So previously you'd have bass, guitar, keys, etc. But now we've got these sub options, which actually makes a lot of sense, especially within the bass. So a bass instrument can be a whole range of different sounds. It could be something in the upper spectrum, like an M1 organ, for example, which has got a lot of harmonics, up the frequency. But you might have a sub bass which doesn't have any of those frequencies. So it does make more sense that you've got more options within here, which is, it's going to make my life a lot easier. So in the keys, let's pick a piano. This is a grand piano, so I'm going to pick piano. And I want it really to be up front. This is a real upfront kind of sound that I want from this piano. And we're going to put it on a medium intensity. We'll keep it at that for now. I don't really want it to be too in your face. So I'm going to solo. The piano is soloed now. Let's play it back. So there we go. We can already see that it seems to be targeting more stuff within Neutron 3. Neutron 2 only had about 3 things that it was looking at, but in Neutron 3 it seems to be looking at a whole load more stuff. Now, whether that is true or not, maybe Neutron 2 kind of did all that in the background but it didn't tell you about it. But certainly in Neutron 3 it seems to be going through and doing a whole lot more stuff, which sounds quite interesting. So let's have a look at the results and see what it comes out with. So we have the Sculptor set up within here. It's set to the piano setting, but it's actually not, it's only got about 50% on there. So I'll play around with that in a minute. Let's have a look at the equalizer. We've got a little bit of a boost at the low end, a little bit of a boost at the high end, but no cuts or anything. I think because I've asked it to be up front, it probably isn't cutting anything. It wants to almost boost it. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Well, we got the exciter working within here. Not really to any kind of really massive intent. And then we got a compressor on the end of it. So let's check out the Sculptor. I really want to see how the Sculptor works, see how that works with this sound. So we have 3 different settings within here. We have this intensity knob, we have this tone, and then we have the speed. I'll be quite honest, I don't know what the speed does, but I have looked at it and I know what the intensity does. So the intensity is almost the dry wet of how much of this plugin you want to put in there. And then we have the tone. Now the tone is how much you want it to stick out in the mix and how much you want it to kind of slink away and kind of be nice and subtle. So the higher it is, the more it sticks out. The lower it is, the less it sticks out. So let's see how that sounds with this mix. I'm going to put it on full 100% so we can see how that sounds. So to me, it seems to be really, it's almost like a set EQ curve. So it seems to have it's like a preset for an EQ almost, like for how a piano could sound better if it was pushed more within the mix. And it seems to be kind of molding the sound. So it is, yeah, I guess it's sculpting the sound to be what that preset is. So yeah, I think it is one of these instant gratification kind of features, one of those quick fixes to make any instrument sound that bit better or fit better within the mix. So yeah, I quite like that. That might be quite interesting to use. I think already on this piano, it's already sounding quite sharp. You can hear the attack on it is quite strong there. Personally, I'd probably dial all this back a bit. It's sounding a bit too intense. So, but it could be quite interesting. I like the idea of that. It's kind of a nice little addition, and I think, as I say, it might be that kind of quick fix for giving an instrument a bit more presence within the mix. So yeah, I like that. It's a cool little feature. So have a look at the equalizer and just have a look at some of these different settings within here. So I already like some of these controls. These controls work really nicely within here, especially the way that we can adjust the slope. The slope is fantastic. The fact that we can just adjust it with these little points here. That's a really kind of cool feature. It seems really subtle. It's one of those things that, you know, might not be a big deal to you, but to me, I like those kind of interface changes that really kind of, I don't know, just kind of make it feel fresh again and just become a joy to use. You're using these bits of software a lot, so you know they've got to be easy to use. They've got to be fun to use, and I really like this new interface. Now, one of my other favourite features of Neutron is the masking. I went over it in my previous video, but it seems they've actually made it, again, a little bit more subtle. So let's have a look, see how this works. Okay, I really like this. So yeah, when you're setting the channel that you want to mask this with, it will still show you those those pulsing white lines to show you where things are clashing. But it just, again, the interface just seems to be that more subtle, that more, I don't know, easy to use. This is the first time I'm using this, so I've not actually had any kind of practice with this previously. It seems to work really nicely. I also like the fact that you can toggle between the different EQs that you got set up. So I've got the EQ on the piano here, and I've got the EQ on the bass, and I can just switch between the two, which is really nice without having to go into the bass instrument and then toggle it from there. If you've used Neutron 2, you'll know that when you do masking, it basically gives you a split screen. So you have one EQ and then the other EQ below it, which just squeezes everything up, makes it even smaller, and makes it, I know, a bit harder to use. So I really like the fact that, you know, again, you've got more room to play with. Everything's a bit bigger. You can see everything a bit better. Yeah, it's a really, really good improvement. Okay, so let's check out the other massive feature of Neutron 3. Now, we're coming back to the mix assistant. Now, previously we used it on a single track to enhance that track. That's what I've done for ages, and it works really well. But the other big feature in Neutron 3 is to be able to listen to all the tracks within your project and then balance them all out. Now, I'm not quite sure whether this is going to work, but I want to try it out, see if it does. So let's give it a go. So I'm going to drop Neutron 3 on the master channel. So first we need to go to the mix assistant again, and we're given these two options of track enhance and balance. And this time, of course, we want to go full balance. We want to balance the whole song. So I'm going to choose that. And next up, it's giving me a couple of hints of what I need to do. And one of those is putting a new plugin on every single track. This is called Relay. Now, I've already gone ahead and done this, and basically this little Relay plugin has a whole load of controls. It's got a gain control, balance, and width. And basically what this allows you to do, or allows Neutron to do, is be able to see every single channel within that mix. So I've got those all installed on there. I can click this Got It button. So this now sees every different track within my project. So you can see all of these down here. Now you can choose which ones of these you want Neutron to listen out to, and in which case we want it to listen to all of these. Now some of these are showing up twice because I have Neutron on some of these and some of these I've got Relay on. You can use whichever. If you've got Neutron on, you can use that instead, but I've got Relay on every track just in case anyway. We've also got this option for focus, so we can choose certain elements within our mix that we want to focus on. So say for example within this I've got vocals, so I want them to be a focus point. I also like the piano within here and also the synth. Those really should stick out well within the mix. And you have to pick at least one focus point within here so that Neutron knows what you want to stick out within the mix. So I'm ready and all set up there. I just need to click begin listening. And what I need to do is I need to play this track in its entirety from the very start. So unlike the normal track assistant where it just listens to a little bit of the audio and then makes suggestions as to how to tweak it, the balance mode actually listens to the whole track, which I think is actually a really kind of cool feature because you might have instruments that go up and down in the mix. So a small portion of that track is not a representation of how the whole track evolves. So I think that's a really kind of cool idea. So next up we need to click go to the results. So it's gone through my whole track and it's basically grouped up all the different instruments into these categories. You've got focus, voice, bass, percussion and musical. So these are what it thinks are the classifications for all the different tracks within my project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play back the track now and see what kind of tweaks it's made. So I'm going to play it back at probably a noisy part of the track. That doesn't sound too great to me, but it allows you to then be able to tweak it from here. So you can choose the different levels that you want for those different groups of instruments. So let's try tweaking it and seeing what it can do. I'm not quite sure about that, to be honest. I'm not sure I'm quite happy with that mix. There is the option to be able to edit these classifications. So it's kind of put different things within different categories here. For example, it's put the clap within musical elements, which isn't true at all. So I'm going to put that back in percussion. And again, let's have a listen to it, see how it sounds. Now I have to say I don't like the results on that at all. Maybe it probably is one of those things where it works with certain genres, or maybe it just doesn't work with this track. Maybe I need to group my channels right first. I've got two different vocal channels there. Maybe I need to group them together and then put the relay on that. Who knows? Maybe I just need to play around with it a little bit longer. But first impressions, the balance doesn't quite work as well as the track assistant. The track assistant is still fantastic and one of my favorite features, and I'm still probably going to do the upgrade for that. But yeah, I'm not quite sure about that balance feature. Probably just need to use it a little bit more to get the hang of it and figure out how it all works. So those are my first impressions of Neutron 3, and I really like some of those new features. The new subcategories within the track assistant, for example, are brilliant. The fact that we can now target instruments better, which means Neutron can work better. So yeah, that's a really cool feature. I also love the new interface. It's so clean. It's going to be much more of a joy to use. And I didn't think it was going to be that big a deal, but certainly just using it for these first few hours certainly works a lot better, and I really like it. The new Sculptor module sounds like it has got a lot of potential. I think I've just got to find the right track to use it on and the right way, but I think it could work really well for those kind of instant gratification moments where you just want to make that track punch through the mix. The only feature that didn't really pop for me was the balance feature, and that's probably just because I didn't get the right results that I wanted. It probably works best in certain genres and maybe not so much in others, or perhaps I'm just not quite doing it right and I need some more practice on it. So I'm going to keep on with it and see if I can play around with it, get the results out of it that I want to, but it's one of those features I can't see myself using that much. However, the visual mixer is still an amazing feature of Neutron, and they seem to have improved it, especially with the performance. I can see myself using that a lot more. So, is it worth the upgrade? Well, yeah, for me it is. I really love the new features and I can see myself using them. If you've got Neutron 1 or you don't own Neutron at all, then I definitely recommend the upgrade. Just for the track assistant alone, it's a killer feature. If you're going from Neutron 2 to Neutron 3, maybe give the trial version a go, but for me, I'm definitely doing the upgrade. So drop me a comment below, let me know what you think to the new version of Neutron. Have you installed it already? What do you think? What are your favourite features? I'd love to know your opinion. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification icon so you're notified whenever I upload a brand new video. I've got a whole load more content like this on my channel, so definitely check that out, and I'll see you again in the next video.